Hey everybody, Southern Sage again, and today we get to go back to the garden, although the garden is entirely under mulch, and so we aren't literally going to the garden, but we're going to talk about the garden. So today we're going to work on some easy spring polycultures. And so if you don't already know, polyculture means poly, many, culture, growing many different things in the same place. And in permaculture, we love these because they confuse pests. They let you get more in a smaller space, right? So you get a higher yield and they're just more fun. You get to be a little creative. The spring garden offers a few really cool opportunities for these. And I'm going to share with you some that I've used successfully for many years, and I hope you enjoy them too. So the first one is called a shaker mix. So what I do is take any number of small seeded spring crops. So my favorites are carrot, radish, lettuce, and spinach. I've included cilantro too, and I had it be successful. I mix about equal amounts depending on how much I want. I might put a little bit less radish, maybe a little more carrot, maybe heavy on the spinach or the lettuce, depending on how I'm feeling. There's no magic here. But you put a little bit, well, it depends on how much you're trying to plant. It could be anything from a pinch to like a teaspoon of seeds into an old spice jar. Right. So something with little holes in the top. You go out to the garden, you mix it up real well, and you just sprinkle it on the top of a prepared garden bed, so on top of the soil. Take your fingers and just kind of jostle everything around a little bit and plant it. Water it in. If you want to be real fancy, you can put a piece of cardboard over it for a few days to keep it moist. It'll save you some time watering. Otherwise, you can just stand out in the garden on a gorgeous day and water your seeds. And what'll happen in like 3 to 5 days, the radishes will sprout. And as they grow, their leaves will shade the ground around them. And then the lettuces and the spinaches will sprout. And then as they shade the ground around them, the carrots will finally sprout. So between you and me, I desperately love carrots, but the things are flippin' finicky to get out of the ground. Tiny little seed, gotta be right next to the surface, and it has to stay perfectly moist for like a week before the thing will agree to germinate. So the shaker mix beauty is that all of those other leaves over the top of it create the right climate so that the flippin' little carrots will decide they're happy and will grow. So then you have this bed of solid green, menagerie of things, and you just start eating it, right? And so when you want a radish, you pull a radish, and that makes room for the lettuce and the spinach and the carrots next to it to get bigger. And if you see something that's kind of crowding, maybe a carrot, because that's going to be the thing that's longer, you pick it and you eat it, right? Lettuce, spinach, doesn't matter, right? It's so flexible. And you can put like anything in it that is that kind of small seeded thing. Love that as a spring polyculture. Works fabulously well. Now, for these next couple, I made a presentation. I made a picture for you guys to see. So let me bring that up. Give me just a second. So you guys should now be able to see this potato polyculture. So this is one that we actually did see on the garden tour in my garden, where I've got potatoes planted down the middle of the bed on roughly 18-inch centers, 18 to 24. And then in the middle between them, I've got loose leaf lettuces that I started indoors. I put them out as transplants. And then on the edge, around the whole perimeter of the bed, I have onion starts. So this polyculture works by taking advantage of space that the potatoes don't need yet, right? So eventually they will need that whole 18-inch space for this really healthy vine that's going to make amazing potatoes underneath it. But it doesn't get that big for like 2 months. And by then it's way too hot for the lettuce and it's just kind of keeled over dead. So if you grow lettuce down the middle, you can take advantage of that empty space for the period of time where it's not needed by the potato. Same thing for the onions. And by the time the lettuce is done, you just pull it up and lay it down as mulch for the potatoes and let the potatoes keep going. So it works great. A variant on this, another one, is to just go all in onions. So you can do onions around the edge and onions down the middle. You can actually do onions between the potatoes too if you want to. Like if your family eats as many onions as my family, this very simple, straightforward two-species polyculture rocks it. Like it gives me a place to plant the 350 or 400 onions it takes to feed us for a year. So, onions and potatoes, super simple. And then the last one is kind of a fun one, right? So this one's way busier, but cooler. So we've got our same potato plants, right? 18, 24-inch spacing. Halfway in between them, you plant spinach. Okay, so spinach is going to be around for a little bit, and it takes a little bit to get its legs under itself, but it goes in same time as potatoes. So direct seed those. On either side of the spinach, put radishes. This also assumes that your family really likes either radishes or kimchi that you can make out of radishes. So you've got 2 rows of radishes, one on each side of the spinach, and then potatoes. And then in between the potatoes and around the edge of the bed, you do that onion thing again. So you can also diversify this. Pretty much anything that went in the shaker mix except carrots can go in that center 3-row spot. So you can do loose leaf lettuces, you can do obviously the spinach, you could do cilantro, you can do the many kinds of radishes. Like there's lots of options for what you plant in that center space. But the key is they all have to want to be done by around the 1st of June. So where I am in Kansas, it's so hot that lettuce just keels over and spinach is long done by then. So all of these things work. And so then as the potato vines grow and you see them like crowding into the other food, you just eat it. Like you harvest and eat the food and put down mulch where it was to preserve the moisture for the potatoes. Like this is super productive in the space. You get way more, way, way, way more out of your garden using these very simple polycultures. So that's what I wanted to share with you today as we wrap up our week of garden stuff. Um, Next week, we're going to dive into biochar. So, how do you actually make biochar? We're going to see some videos from a workshop that I did last fall. I'm also doing another workshop this coming Saturday. If you happen to be anywhere close to Wichita or care to visit Wichita, about a half hour west of Wichita at this awesome little regenerative farm near Cheney, Kansas, we're going to be doing a biochar workshop. So if you want to show up and help dig the hole and manage the fire and walk away with some biochar that you made, please sign up for that at kansaspermaculture.org, right? So that's March 29th in Kansas. However, next week for the 5 days, we're going to be looking at the what's and whys of biochar, and you'll see me actually making it in a trench, right? Hole in the ground in my backyard. So that's coming next week. Stay tuned. I hope you like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if these videos are valuable to you. All right. Have a good one.